At first glance, the question sounds trivial. What does breakfast have to do with markets, capital, or long-term wealth? Eggs do not predict interest rates. Coffee does not forecast crashes. And yet, when financial celebrities speak candidly about their mornings, a pattern emerges that has little to do with nutrition and everything to do with control. Breakfast, for these individuals, is rarely about indulgence. It is about signaling. The day begins with a decision, however small, that establishes rhythm, discipline, and intentionality before the noise of markets arrives. Books and interviews reveal that the most successful financial minds treat the morning not as a reward, but as a foundation. One of the first observations that stands out is simplicity. Many financial celebrities eat the same breakfast every day: oatmeal, eggs, fruit, black coffee. Nothing exotic. Nothing optimized for pleasure. This repetition is not accidental. It reduces decision fatigue. By removing choice early, mental energy is preserved for decisions that actually matter. The breakfast itself is unremarkable, but the discipline behind it is not. This pattern reflects a broader philosophy these individuals carry into finance. They eliminate trivial variability so they can tolerate meaningful uncertainty. Markets are chaotic. Life is unpredictable. The morning, therefore, becomes a controlled environment. What they eat is less important than the fact that it is predictable. Stability, even in small rituals, anchors judgment later when stakes rise. Another insight emerges around restraint. Financial celebrities rarely begin the day with sugar spikes or indulgent comfort foods. This is not about health trends, it is about mood regulation. Blood sugar volatility mirrors emotional volatility. Books that connect physiology and decision-making show that early day instability increases impulsivity. Those who manage capital professionally learn quickly that emotional steadiness is not optional. Breakfast becomes the first risk management tool of the day. There is also an interesting absence of urgency. Many describe eating slowly, deliberately, without screens, not multitasking, not consuming news. This is a psychological boundary. The day does not begin with reaction, it begins with preparation. Financial celebrities often delay market exposure intentionally, protecting their mental state from premature stimulation. They understand that the first inputs of the day disproportionately shape cognition. Another recurring theme is modesty. Despite immense wealth, breakfasts remain plain. This contradicts popular narratives that success leads to excess. In reality, excess often leads to erosion. The literature shows that those who sustain success grow more conservative in personal habits over time. Luxury appears selectively, not habitually. Breakfast, in particular, is treated as functional fuel rather than expression. Some financial celebrities fast entirely. This choice, too, reflects philosophy more than biology. Fasting enforces patience. It sharpens awareness. It introduces mild discomfort that trains restraint. While not universal, the underlying principle is consistent. Control appetite, and you strengthen the muscle required to control impulse elsewhere. The market rewards delayed gratification. The morning trains it. Another subtle insight concerns identity. Financial celebrities do not see breakfast as self-care in the indulgent sense. They see it as self-respect. Careful nourishment reflects an agreement with oneself. Today will be handled intentionally. This self-contract carries forward into meetings, negotiations, and risk-taking. Small promises kept early increase the likelihood of larger promises being honored later. Breakfast habits also reveal how these individuals think about time. They wake early, not to be productive immediately, but to create margin. Margin between waking and working. Margin between thought and action. This temporal buffer reduces reactivity. The breakfast table becomes a transition space, neither sleep nor strategy, but preparation for both. Another pattern emerges when examining what is absent. Rarely do financial celebrities eat breakfast while consuming market commentary. They delay opinions. They delay narratives. This is deliberate. Early exposure to strong opinions biases interpretation all day. By starting the day internally rather than externally, they protect independent thinking. Breakfast becomes a firewall against cognitive contamination. The books also highlight consistency across decades. Breakfast routines change less than portfolios. This constancy provides psychological continuity even as external circumstances evolve. When markets become unstable, routines become stabilizers. The body remembers safety when the world feels uncertain. This embodied calm supports rational decision-making under pressure. Interestingly, financial celebrities are often uncomfortable when others obsess over these habits. They resist mystification. They insist the food itself is irrelevant, and they are right on the surface. But habits are never about the object. They are about the signal the habit sends to the mind. Eat intentionally, and you begin the day intentionally. Another insight emerges around humility. Breakfast reminds them they are human before they are wealthy. They must eat, they must digest, they must care for the body that carries the mind. This grounding prevents abstraction from running unchecked. Money lives in numbers. Risk lives in reality. Breakfast brings attention back to the physical world before abstraction dominates. As these stories accumulate, the pattern becomes undeniable. What financial celebrities eat for breakfast is not important because of calories, macros, or trends. It matters because it reflects how they relate to control, restraint, routine, and self-command. Breakfast is the smallest daily expression of the same discipline that compounds capital over decades. And this is where the story begins to narrow. Because once we stop asking what financial celebrities eat and start asking why they eat the way they do, the conversation shifts entirely. It becomes less about diet and more about dominance over impulse, less about nutrition and more about neurological readiness, less about copying habits and more about understanding the mental architecture that precedes good decisions. As the morning quietly sets the tone for everything that follows, shaping attention, patience, and restraint long before the first trade is placed or the first meeting begins, unfolding not as a hack, but as a ritual of control. Like unfolding not as a hack, but as a ritual of control, like a quiet rehearsal for the kind of decisions that define entire careers. And this is where the breakfast habits of financial celebrities reveal their real significance, not as nutrition advice, but as behavioral architecture. In the second half of this story, the focus shifts from the plate to the pattern. Financial celebrities are not disciplined because they eat simply. They eat simply because they are disciplined. Breakfast is not the cause, it is the visible symptom of a deeper operating system. One built around conserving willpower, protecting attention, and starting the day from a position of calm authority rather than reactive urgency. The most revealing insight from their routines is how deliberately boring they are. In a world obsessed with optimization, these individuals avoid novelty where it provides no real upside. Breakfast is not a place to experiment. It is a place to stabilize. Books and interviews show that when people manage enormous uncertainty all day, they crave certainty in small, repeatable ways. This predictability reduces cognitive load and preserves judgment for moments that truly require it. Another critical theme is sequencing. Financial celebrities understand that the brain is most impressionable in the first hours after waking. What enters the system early shapes perception disproportionately. This is why breakfast is often paired with silence, reflection, or light reading, not markets, not news, not opinions. They delay exposure to volatility because they know that early emotional arousal distorts risk assessment later. The absence of information becomes an advantage. This restraint reflects how they approach markets. They do not rush into positions. They wait. They observe. They let information accumulate before acting. Breakfast becomes a daily rehearsal for patience. Hunger, mild discomfort, simplicity. These experiences reinforce the ability to sit with unease without reacting. That same ability prevents overtrading, panic selling, and impulsive bets when markets become noisy. There is also a strong connection between breakfast habits and identity preservation. Financial celebrities are constantly surrounded by signals that inflate ego money, influence, access. Morning routines strip that away temporarily. Eating plainly reminds them that, before they are allocators of capital, they are biological systems. This grounding matters. Ego is expensive in finance. Humility, reinforced daily, is protective. Another subtle insight is how these routines age well. As wealth grows, lifestyles often become more complex. Commitments multiply. Expectations rise. Yet breakfast routines tend to simplify further, not expand. The books show that longevity in finance correlates with reducing complexity in personal life. When external demands grow, internal systems must become cleaner to compensate. Breakfast becomes a non-negotiable anchor amid chaos. Importantly, financial celebrities do not romanticize these habits. They do not claim moral superiority. They do not evangelize diets. When asked, many dismiss the question entirely. This dismissal is revealing. The habit works precisely because it is not loaded with meaning. It is mechanical, automatic, free of identity signaling. When habits become performative, they lose power. When they are quiet, they endure. Another pattern emerges around consistency under stress. During crises, market crashes, regulatory shocks, reputational pressure, these individuals cling more tightly to routine, not less. Breakfast becomes sacred when everything else feels unstable. The body recognizes continuity even when the environment does not. This physiological calm supports psychological clarity when others unravel. The deeper lesson is not about copying what financial celebrities eat. It is about understanding why they design mornings that reduce friction rather than add stimulation. Most people begin the day consuming news, opinions, notifications before they have chosen a direction. Financial celebrities begin the day establishing control before exposure. This order matters. Control first, noise later. Over time, these small decisions accumulate. Days compound into years. Years compound into careers. The difference between reacting and preparing does not show up immediately, but it defines trajectories. Breakfast is simply the first visible checkpoint in a longer chain of restraint, patience, and intentionality. And so the story resolves, quietly. What financial celebrities eat for breakfast matters not because of protein or calories, but because it reflects mastery over impulse at the smallest scale. Mastery practiced daily becomes instinctive under pressure. The market does not reward brilliant moments as much as it rewards consistent behavior. Breakfast trains that consistency when nothing is at stake, so that when everything is, the response is already rehearsed. If this reflection resonated with you, pause and ask yourself one question. What is the first decision you make each morning? And does it put you in control or in reaction? That answer matters more than any productivity hack. Share that thought. And if you want to keep exploring how small, almost invisible habits shape financial judgment, resilience, and long-term success, stay connected, subscribe, follow, and return. Because in finance, the biggest advantages are often trained long before the day officially begins.